Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mesa City Council study sessions for the morning of Thursday, September 7th. All of our council is present with the exception of Ms. Spilsbury, who is unable to attend and is excused. Our first meeting this morning will be an Eastmark Community Facilities District Number 1 board meeting. So welcome to that meeting. Again, I'll note that all of our board is present with the exception of Ms. Spilsbury. First item on our agenda is items from citizens present. Ms. Mosley, are there any blue cards from citizens for this meeting?
Not for this meeting, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 2 is the approval of minutes from a prior meeting. Is there a motion to that effect? Thank you, Mr. Freeman and Mr. Heredia. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. Item 3A is to conduct a public hearing on the feasibility report for a proposed project to be financed by the issuance of general obligation bonds. I declare the public hearing open. Ms. Mosley, do we have any requests to speak from the public on these items?
No, Mayor, we do.
Thank you. Do any board members wish to address these items? Mr. Summers.
Mayor, I'm going to take exception to some of the requests that are being made in this particular report. First of all, when Mesa established the Community Facilities District, Eastmark was one of the first ones that we did, because this was the former GM proving ground. There was no infrastructure in the ground, and the way to finance that infrastructure, and most importantly, to finance something better than we could get otherwise, was to create the Community Facilities District. One of the areas of, and we did a lot of work with D&B on creating a vision and a plan. And one of the areas specifically was to create an urban center, right? Or several urban centers with the idea of retail, hospitality, high-end. Kierland Commons was commonly used as the benchmark for establishing this. There are two items in here that I'm a little concerned about issuing bonds for, at least at this time. One, they said they've done improvements to a commercial area at Ray Road and Ellsworth. Ray Road and Ellsworth is one of those urban cores. There is no commercial center here. It is plain dirt, is all that's there. The second item for about $250,000 is a traffic light that sits on the northern Ray and Ellsworth that is to benefit of the community, but I fail to see how this, at this point, benefits this community. As a matter of fact, it's the one light that everybody points to say, how many more can we stick up and down Ellsworth Road? The benefit for this traffic light, at least at this juncture, appears to be across the street to the industrial area where we have a lot of truck traffic starting to move in and out. Now, eventually, we're going to see some development on this dirt lot, but I don't know what that looks like. We don't have a plan. If it turns out to be the typical safe way with development around it, well, that doesn't reach that standard of being special. That's just a commercial development. If it's a Kierland Commons, well, that's the type of thing that we would want to invest in. Like we do in downtown, investing in that sense of place, like we do in Fiesta. We invest in infrastructure in order to try to get something better, something that we couldn't otherwise do. A typical development that might go here, we would not tax our own people for. We would require the half-street improvements of the developer, all the water infrastructure of the developer. And when you look on the other side of town, I use the Safeway as an example. I think the Safeway at Signal Butte is a warning, really, because we reimburse for those. I make that assumption, and we got a drive-through, a car wash. I mean, self-storage, our favorite, right? It's a typical commercial development that doesn't raise the level. It's a missed opportunity. So when you look at section 1.7 on page 9 of the Development Finance Participating Waiver and Intergovernmental Agreement, It states that the district board, us, can exercise its sole discretion, may therefore approve or reject the report and approve or reject the issuance of district bonds. What I would suggest for looking at this feasibility report, there are 3 items on this one. Item 1 is Great Park Phase 4. That's a job well done. I have no problems with the issuance of the bonds. It's $10.694,078 million. That park is improved. It has playgrounds. It has a fishing pond. I don't think we would have gotten a fishing pond were it not for the ability to reimburse with the CFD. I don't have an issue. I would like to see that come forward. I do have a problem with issuing at this time the $2.96 million for the urban core or the $245,000 for a traffic light for an area that hasn't been improved. My recommendation, looking at the city attorney, if this is allowable, is that we continue this item for maybe a couple of weeks, because we'd have to repost if that's the desire of the board, to approve the Great Park Phase 4, and that we would just table item 2, the commercial core, and item 3, offsite improvements for the traffic light for consideration later when the applicant brings back the urban core commercial development that we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Any other comments from our board? All right, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Item 4A is a resolution approving the notice of hearing and the feasibility report and authorizing the issuance of the general obligation bonds and approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of various related documents and taking other actions related to the bonds. Is there a motion on this item?
I would actually make a motion that we continue this for 2 weeks and have staff come back with a new report, including only Great Park Phase 4.
Chair and Board Member Summers, if I could, because, and you can make that motion, but I would just, we don't need to go date specific in 2 weeks. I'm not sure if we could get it all done. If we can, we'll bring it back in 2 weeks. If the motion could be just to direct staff to bring back project number 1 in the bond package, we'll do that expeditiously, but I'm not sure, because it's not like a zoning case. We don't need to give it date specific. We're gonna have to go through all the processes either way, and I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to do all that in 2 weeks. So we'll do it as expeditiously as possible. But if you want to have, if I just can modify the motion to bring back project 1 as a bond package at a future board meeting.
So we can't just go ahead and approve project 1 today.
No.
We need to, it's a package.
Right, we'll have to redo the documents and redo the notices and bring it back to you.
Yeah, then that would be my motion.
All right, thank you. Ms. Goforth has seconded that motion. Any discussion? I'll just add that I think Mr. Summers makes some good points, and so I'm interested to hear more about this topic. So I'm going to be voting in support of the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. That concludes the agenda for this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn this board meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. And Mr. Freeman, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.